car, taking our first actual test drive. Just kind of putzing it around the subdivision for now, and seems to be riding good. Everything's functioning just as it should. I don't hear any funny rattles or bangs or clunks or anything like that, so I'd say it's all good. About to pull out on the main road here and see. I know it needs an alignment. My steering wheel is way out of whack, but yeah, for the most part, things riding good. Honestly, rides better than it did when it was stock. So, still haven't put the bed on it. I'm just out here thugging in legal mode with no tail lights. But yeah, just figured I'd test everything out before I went and put the bed on. I still got to loom everything and make everything look pretty. It was just such a nice day out, and I wanted to drive it and see how it worked. So let's go. So I just got back from my first test drive with it, and I gotta say, it rides really good. Takes the bumps really good. There's no clunks or bumps or ticks or anything like that. Things riding catty. It does need an alignment though, because my steering wheel, when I'm driving straight, it's crooked as shit. So that was to be expected, but for the most part, things riding good. Hey everyone, how's it going? Sitting Low coming at you guys with another round of the C10 build, and as you guys can see now, I've actually got the bed placed back on it. So sorry I didn't film that whole process, but it was pretty much self-explanatory. It was just me and a couple of dudes lifting the bed up and setting it on. Although it wasn't just as simple as just lifting it up and setting it on. We set it on there, and I immediately had to take it right back off and trim a couple of spots, which I'll show you guys here coming up. Beautiful work. But pretty much, if you guys have been following along, those 1/4 inch strips we added to the top of our frame rails for reinforcement kind of interfered with a little cross brace underneath, so we had to nibble into that a little bit, and right where the whole differential bottomed out, had to trim a little bit there. But the cool part is I didn't have to cut a hole in my floor. When it's laid out all the way, all it does is just barely pushes up the center of the floor like a 1/4 inch, and I'm not even too worried about that. It's not hitting no brake lines or anything important. It's just the very top of the pig just pushes up on it. So I never drive it that low, so I don't gotta worry about none of that. But yeah, it looks pretty sweet with the bed on it actually. And I took it for a brief test drive after I got the bed on it, and what I was actually just doing, which it's actually done now, but I had to get under here. Let me show you guys what I did here. Raise it up back here a little bit. Yeah, I had to go under here. Like I mentioned in the one video, I had to pretty much go under there and adjust that panhard bar a little bit, because when I took it for a drive, you know, it worked great with when the bed was off it, but once I put the bed on and took it for a short drive, you can kind of see where my tire was rubbing a little bit. So undid that bar, just adjusted it a little bit, shifted the axle this way, so now I got a good 3/4 of an inch on, you know, both sides. So I knew I was gonna have to do that, but I wish I would have did it sooner. That way I wouldn't have rubbed a little bit into my tire, but the tire's fine. It's just, you know, little things here and there. But now it's pretty much a moment of truth. Let's see how low it goes with the bed back on it. That thing looks pretty fucking good. Yeah, I think that thing lays pretty good the way it is. It's actually laying perfect. I still got that brick under the front, but still you can't even tell that thing's laying out perfect. And I didn't even have to cut a hole in the floor of the bed, so I'm geeked about that. If you guys didn't notice, I put different silencers in the front, and those have a built-in flow control valve. You know, I noticed that the front's obviously the heaviest part of the vehicle because it's got the motor in the front, so the front's always going to require more air to lift, and it's always going to drop faster than the rear. So I put some slow down flow control valves in the front. That way when I lower the truck, it'll just, you see, it just sunk down nice. So yeah, those are always a good option. I pretty much just made this truck to cruise and not really, you know, hit switches or anything while I was driving around, although I do have that option. But for the most part, it's made to just slam it on the ground when it's parked and raise it up when you need to drive it. So, but everything's working great. can't wait to get it aligned and actually take it for a real drive. So until that day comes, we're pretty much all set. So stay tuned. As you can see, now I got it out parked out in the grass, so I can actually lay it out all the way and not worry about my headers getting slammed into the ground. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're still slammed into the ground, but at least they're in the grass, you know, not just slamming onto the pavement. But yeah, as you can see, it lays pretty good. It's not like super seat or, you know, it's not tucking rim or anything, but however, you can see in my bed here, I haven't cut a damn thing in here, so that's pretty much as low as you're gonna get without having to actually cut the hole in the floor of your bed. So yeah, the bed's on it. I took it to the alignment shop, got the front end aligned, so now my steering wheel's nice and straight. Yeah, it fucking rides good too. Looks pretty good. I think it lays perfect, to be honest with you. So only thing I got left to do now is I still haven't mounted that gauge, so I got to do that still. And other than that, everything is pretty much wrapped up, other than the gauge. I'll come over here, off the hood real quick. Got all the wires loomed and stuff. Everything just looks a little nicer now. So don't mind my engine compartment; it's filthy. I still haven't cleaned under here. When I wire brushed and cleaned all the control arms and the frame under there, all that dust and shit just accumulated in my engine bay. And so gotta get in there and clean everything again. Gave the truck a bath though, because it was in desperate need. It had been sitting in the garage for about a month, so it accumulated quite a bit of dust. But yeah, let's go ahead and figure out what the hell we're gonna do with this gauge. Alright, so I finally figured out where I'm gonna mount my air gauge, and I went to the auto parts store and I got this nice chrome 2-inch pod here, and I was gonna put it something like down here by my shifter, or somewhere down here, maybe below the dice here or something like that, but then I decided I just don't like it, so I ripped the whole damn gauge cluster out, and I just got it over here on the bench. Just kind of taking it apart. You know, getting the gauge cluster out was kind of a pain in the ass. You gotta undo the oil pressure line and all that kind of shit, so easier said than done. But basically I got this thing taken apart right now, and here is the factory oil pressure gauge, and right here I have pretty much an empty area that I could drill out and try to get this here gauge to plug in the back of it. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And first things first, I gotta undo all the little, what I'm doing now is I'm going around the edges and removing all these screws here so I can separate the face, separate this blue part, center my hole, drill my hole for the gauge, and then hopefully everything will fit and I can even use the nice glass that they have, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, I'm gonna start doing this. Alright, so now that we got it all back together, we can really see what it looks like. I'm glad I was able to keep this little factory glass piece here. You know, granted it's a white face gauge and all the rest of them are black. At least it's done now, so when I do find a black one, I can just simply remove it and replace it with the black one. But I think that looks pretty badass where it's at. That way I don't got another just an oddball gauge dangling beneath my dashboard here. So all I gotta do now is put it back in and hook everything up, and yep. So I got everything put back together. Gauge turned out pretty good. Kind of wish I would have taken the time to paint that needle orange, but I can always do that down the road. But for the most part, it's all back together. Like I said, I just didn't want to have an oddball, just weird extra gauge pod somewhere else, and you know, that looks pretty discreet, so I like it. Alrighty, you guys, so that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this one here. We got our gauge installed and got everything put back together. Everything turned out really nice. As you can see, we stuck with our original plan, and everything inside here looks pretty much factory. We don't got a bunch of weird switches and wires and hoses and cables and fittings and weird shit going on in here. It just looks nice and factory. I just gotta get in here and clean these seats up a little bit. Seats got a little dirty throughout this build, so yeah, once I take care of that, those will be fine. But man, I gotta say, we've come a long way since part one, when we first started cutting and gutting this thing. So all you guys following along and watching, I really appreciate you guys. Some of you guys, you know, commenting, you know, giving me a little bit of motivation, inspiration throughout this whole project. You know, I appreciate you guys as well. Any comments or questions you got about the truck or anything like that, feel free to shoot them in the comment section. I'll be sure to answer them for you. And for the most part, this one's pretty much done, other than I need to get my mid-length exhaust headers, and once I get those, you know, we'll be sitting right. So until then, you guys, like I said, I appreciate everyone watching, and you know, stay tuned for more. Like I said, we got a couple of little small things to do, but other than that, the air ride's done. We can go ahead and start driving it around now, so looking forward to that. But yeah, I'll keep updating you guys as I do little improvements here and there, and you know, just keep you guys posted on this build, so because I know some of you guys are actually tuned in and watching it. So anyway, you guys, like I said, that's gonna do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.